This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Luke, Han, and Princess Leia's story didn't end with the destruction of the Death Star. It continues in The Empire Strikes Back. And welcome everyone to CAF Chat. I'm so happy to be with you on this Thursday morning. And yes, we are continuing the Star Wars Appreciation Month for my channel. And this week is Empire Strikes Back. And I'm so happy that we made it to the second week and to the second movie in the original trilogy. And this is where it all began, right? Is with Star Wars and then continue on with Empire Strikes Back and later, Return of the Jedi and then eventually the PT. And of course, the EU helped kept everybody's interest going. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully, I don't have any more internet problems here. So if this show does go out and I don't pick back up within 5-10 minutes, then that means the internet went out again. I don't know what's going on. So if you follow me on Twitter, you would know that I announced that the internet was out earlier. So here I am. So hello, everyone. I'll go ahead and put on my camera here. I meant to have it on, but I didn't. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you. And first of all, what is in your mug? So what are you enjoying? Beverage are you enjoying this morning, afternoon, or evening? I'm morning time, as you guys all know. That's why it's called CAF Chat. But I understand some of you guys that tune in are in different time zones. So, So what are you enjoying? What are you enjoying this evening? So we're letting everybody bounce on here. And first of all, I want to ask a first question. So what were your thoughts? And this is going to be something that may require more than one sentence, who knows? But for your answer, what were your thoughts of Empire Strikes Back after you watched it? Because it is a cliffhanger middle movie. So this movie basically has subverted expectations on who Vader is to Luke, and the ending of going to search for Han, and and them collecting from basically losing, in a sense, but still surviving for another battle. So what was your feeling? How did you feel? What did you think of when you first watched Empire Strikes Back? Let me know in the comments, and I'm going to go ahead and ask that in a banner and let it go on the bottom. So I'll go ahead and add that here. What did you think of Empire Strikes Back when you first watched it? And it can go into like how you felt about it, all of that. Let me go ahead. I'm going to make it scroll because when it scrolls, it's easier. There we go. Save. And go ahead and show. There you go. So what were your thoughts of it when you first watched? And good morning. I'm going to go through everybody here in the chat and say hello, like my normal standard. And of course, Cringe Factor is a part of the program. So even though we're doing Star Wars Appreciation Month on my channel, I'm still going to talk about Cringe Factor. And this is going to go back into a couple of legacy characters from George Lucas and what we're going to talk about with Cringe Factor. I did pull up an article about will Mara Jade be part of Filoni's movies or whatever. And I don't know if I'm going to do that one. I don't know, because I don't think it's important to talk about. But who knows? Who knows? So what did you think of Empire Strikes Back when you first watched? Let me know. Let me know. So let's go ahead and have everybody hop on. Please like and share. If you're catching the replay, please let me know in the comments and let me know anything, like the question below here. What did you think about Empire Strikes Back when you first watched? And give me more feedback. Stay, basically stay involved in the comments, even when you're in the replay. When you're watching the replay, stay involved in the comments here below. Yeah. Um, so as I'm waiting for people to drop in and you guys to answer the question, I'm going to go ahead and play this wonderful clip I love to play.
Are you sure? So be it.
That's so amazing. That's cool. I love that. So imagine um, first reading about that, first maybe watching any kind of fan made, film and cartoons, animation of that. And imagine, Luke going in and thinking that he is going to, you know, um, I would say attack and learn from the inside, the dark side, so he could further understand how to defeat it further. But yeah, so and how that went for him. But it's not all about Dark Empire here. It's about Empire Strikes Back. So let's see who's in the chat here. Holocron Library Fox, good morning to you, Laura, and hail the chat. And let's see here. Good morning from Iron Inquisitor. Yes, let's hope your internet makes it to the third week. Yeah, I am. I hopefully I have some surprise for you guys on the third week. It's going to be Return of the Jedi 2, my absolute favorite of all the movies. So I'm really, really excited for that. And then hopefully my cosplay will come to fruition. About to prepare a banana milkshake. Interesting. Okay, sounds good. Fracture Filter. Hello, everyone. And Dad Man Walking, a channel member. Thank you so much for tuning in. Howdy, how are you doing? And let's see here. Oh man, this animation is spectacular. Wish they did more of it. Correct. Yes, correct. I always loved Dark Empire. Yeah, and that's one of the things with Dark Empire is that after the PT came out, it kind of created some contradictions here and there. But then also, when you think about the prophecy, and of course, the prophecy was never really answered or talked about in the OT. But just because George brought it in doesn't mean that it breaks continuity to the OT, because it doesn't. Um, but when it comes to Dark Empire, and the PT bring in the Chosen One prophecy, then it questions, okay, so Anakin's a chosen one to defeat the Sith, but yet Palpatine survives or survives somehow. I'm not trying to be like Disney Star Wars, but I digress. Uh, and But then when you think about it, the prophecy said doesn't give a time frame of like how long this balance will be maintained or what have you. So you have all these little gray areas to think about. And we could debate about this. And maybe one day we'll make a CAF chat all about Dark Empire and Heir to the Thrawn trilogy, and talk about what Thrawn did and didn't like about the Dark Empire, and vice versa with Dark Empire, and the creation of that. That would be something great to talk about. And there's also I wish I would have prepared it. I've been so busy this week, still beating and getting ready. Powwow season's here. So I've been posting a lot about that. And thank you guys for your continued support. Even when I'm really, really busy, you guys, you still come to the channel when I have lives, and you still come and watch, shorts and any type of, videos I make for you guys. Thank you guys so much for continued support. I greatly appreciate that. The latest videos I did do, or video, was basically a powwow video. I just wanted to share one more time here. But maybe one day we'll talk specifically about Dark Empire and versus the Thrawn trilogy, since they were, produced at the same time. Holocron Library of Fox. I was a bit too young to have seen Empire in the big screen. Okay, so I'm going to clarify here. So the first time doesn't mean it has to be on the big screen. That's the thing. People think that, oh, first time has to be on the big screen. No, it's your first experience. It doesn't matter if the screen was at the theaters or if it was a TV screen or what have you. The first time you've seen it, and what did you think of it? Like, how did it make you feel? Did it excite you? All of that, all of that. So, seeing it a year later, I had to wait more than a week for return. Still couldn't wait. Blown away, of course. Yeah. So yeah, it was amazing to watch. Like I said, I've shared, my family prepared us my first viewing of A New Hope or Star Wars was on VHS at home. And that was still an amazing experience. Like I said, the big screen doesn't have to be on the big screen to have an amazing experience on watching a movie. And that's always been my point. It's about the moment, being in the moment and watching it. It doesn't have to be on the big screen. And so we did that, and then we went and watched Empire Strikes Back at the drive-in theaters, which was amazing in itself. If you guys are familiar with drive-in theaters, you roll up in your car, you can have your food, your picnic. You don't have to buy concession stand stuff. You can bring blankets out. If you have a truck, you can lay in the back of the truck or lay on the hood of the car. You tune your radio station to the radio station of the drive-in theaters, and yeah, and it's just I would say magical. It's wonderful to watch a movie like at the drive-in theaters because it's more personable. It's more casual, and you got your blankets and your pillows, and like if you're a teenager during the time and you're dating and stuff, just imagine rolling up with your girlfriend or boyfriend to the drive-in theaters. And I will leave it at that. I will leave it at that. So yeah, so if you want to expand a little bit more on how you felt or what was your favorite moment on top of what you felt or what your reaction was when you first watched it, feel free to do that. And Zagrat 315, hi Laura and chat, hello. And what's up, Soul Assassin? So hopefully everything stays up with the internet. So we're here for the time being. And thank you so much for coming in. My mod here. Thank you, Soul Assassin. Always showing up, always contributing. And I'm always grateful for his presence when he can. Smash that like button, he says, and share the stream out. Yes. Ute. The Ute. Ute. Share it, Ute. Stream Ute. Good morning, Batu3. How are you doing? And then Fracture Filter says, I can't recall my first impression where of Empire Strikes Back. I wish I could. Just nothing sparking just now. I still like watching it this day. Yeah, sometimes, if we're born, when the OT first came out, if we're really little and like 5 or 6 or 3 or whatever, sometimes we won't exactly remember every single moment. But I will tell you this. So one thing that I remember, and my heart was sinking, and I'm like, why is this going on? It was when they were freezing, when Han was getting frozen in carbonite, and the response from Leia and Chewie, and his response, and I felt such dread and sorrowfulness when that was going on. That's one emotion I really, really, really do remember. I remember a lot of things. Okay, so don't. I wasn't that young. I wasn't young, but still, that was really like something that I really truly remember emotion wise on how the expression on Leia's face and Han's face, and as he's being lowered, and the response with Chewie, and and how Han tells Chewie to protect the princess and so on. And of course, no one forgets the pivotal moment, the true meaning of subvert expectations of basically Vader announcing who he is to Luke. That right there was jaw dropping. Okay, so Lucas was very good at not revealing and having any type of spoilers out into the public. And I think today That's what's lacking, is keeping things hidden, not out to the public, restraining, and how, restraining from anything coming out, leaked out. Um, and how that happened was basically Lucas did not let anybody know except for at the moment who needed to know. And it worked out so well. And I bet you, even like when Mark was up there recording or they're filming, and once he found out, that right there too, even the shock of like this turn of events also helped with the emotions. So that's a good thing. Today you don't get that. We always get some kind of spoilers coming out on Reddit or what have you. Nothing's a secret anymore. And I think too, that's what makes things less attractive, because you don't get the surprise. Okay, I'm gonna read everybody else's comment, but I seen this one pop. Luke, I'm your father, brothers, cousins, friends, former roommate. And another channel member has come here, Crimson Mist. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, gee, thank you. Let's see here. And I will change this question down. And I'm going to give some interesting facts. We're going to talk about Empire Strikes Back, and we're going to lead um, Cringe Factor, which talks about legacy characters. Soul Assassin knows my reactions to them. Him and a few other people have shared these articles with me over this last week. And so I'm like, I can't ignore them because people are sending them to me for cringe. So it's not just Soul Assassin's fault this time. It's not just his fault. So Crimson Mist says, I also saw Empire Strikes Back for the first time in the local drive-in. Yes, the drive-in is so amazing. And, the local one is now closed down. The tribe where I live on, are at, they had a chance to purchase the drive-in theater. And of course, it would be a build-up project because it would need a new screen. The the equipment needed to be upgraded and stuff like that. So there was a little bit of fixer upper, I guess you could say. And they decided not to take it, which I wish they would have, because they have the money to invest, and it's the only drive-in theater in this area. And I think that they would have made a profit. I think that it would have been a great investment. But, things happen. They decided to go a different way, and it's no longer in existence here where I live at. And I wish it would have been. Just imagine seeing your favorite movies in the drive-ins, like pulling up, like I said, rolling up in your car, your truck, whatever, whether if you're friends or family or what have you, and taking your lawn chairs, or blankets or whatever, your food. The biggest thing was fried chicken for us, fried chicken and watermelon. Yeah. And so family would cook up fried chicken, put it in a paper bag. Yeah. And then so that would be our dinner. Some finger food, like the drumsticks or whatever. And then of course we'd still go into the concessions and pick up popcorn. Sometimes we'd pop our own popcorn, and my aunt would make candied popcorn. So pop it, and then coat it with sugar, or like candy coated, I guess you could say. I wish I knew how to make it her recipe. It was good. And and whatever goodies, bring in our drinks, and then sitting down, tuning in again to the radio station that needs to be played to hear the actual sound, and just experiencing in such a casual setting. Anyways, so I went back straight to the drive-in because that was my moment. That was my Empire Strikes Back moment. Now, New Hope moment, like I said, was at home, and that was amazing because, again, we were at home. So, we're sitting in front of the screen, eyes wide open, watching. We're like, holy crap, what is this? And so this is going to be the first movie to the one we're going to get to see at the drive-in, so it was full of excitement. And like I said, it doesn't matter the size of the screen you first watch it on. It's about the feeling that you got. Yeah. So okay, I'm done with that. Let's see here. The anonymous gamer. Good morning. Empire Strikes Back was phenomenal. Expanded upon the character development built upon A New Hope. Saw it on VHS when I was young lad. Awesome film, and watched Return of the Jedi immediately afterwards. Yeah, there you go. So it's like once you get to watch, like especially if you're younger than me, and then so you can have all of the DVDs, VHSs, or whatever in front of you, you could watch them back to back to back. I had to wait. I had to wait, and that was the longest wait to see Return of the Jedi. So but that was the greatest anticipation. Luke, I am your oh, I read that one. The Facture Field just says the drive-in was fun experience. I remember seeing Jurassic Park, TMT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, basically, and other flicks there. Though sometimes tough to stay awake as little kids. Ha ha ha. Yeah, and usually drive-in theaters will have two movies back to back. So sometimes I wish they would have done A New Hope and then Empire Strikes Back. That would have been amazing. Could have both seen them, but no. So usually they would have two movies back to back, maybe two different genres or what have you, which was pretty cool. But yeah, you had the problem of like as a child staying awake. But then again, you could fall asleep. You got blankets and stuff there and what have you, and then all of a sudden you're being woken because we have to load up in the car. Fun times. Anonymous Gamer says drive-ins were considered a thing of the past by the time I came of age, so I missed that experience. Sounds pretty fun though. Yes, it was amazing. Chicken and watermelon. Meanwhile, my grandmother was sneaking a Taco Bell and beer in their theater. Yeah, my thing was chicken and watermelon, but then of course the adults did have their beer or what have you. Um, no Taco Bell because it was easier to cook stuff at home. And but most of it was chicken and watermelon. It was just easy to eat and easy to consume, I guess you could say. Yeah. So those who are tuning in, I have 11 beautiful souls. Hit the like button. Okay. Hit the like button and answer the question here because I'm going to change it here pretty soon. What did you think of Empire Strikes Back when you first watched it? What was your feeling? How did it make you feel? What did it make you think? And you can even share your favorite moment. So go ahead and share that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up some interesting facts about Empire Strikes Back. Again, I didn't make my PowerPoint because I've been so busy, but I do have some things in front of me. So this is the beginning of the making of Empire Strikes Back. First of all, like John Johnston and Ralph McCurry started, sketching and making their um, concept art for the movie. So that was going on. And so April 1978, George Lucas completes a second draft of The Empire Strikes Back, now subtitled Episode 2. Isn't that interesting? Episode 2. In the second draft, Lucas first introduced the idea that Darth Vader is Luke's father with the introduction of the Father Skywalker and Ben Kenobi both appearing to Luke as forced ghosts. It became apparent that these characters were redundant. Kenobi had originally been created as a replacement to Luke's father in the story, and in the new script, Yoda had been created to replace the now deceased Ben Kenobi. Once Lucas realized this problem, he was able to remove Father Skywalker completely and turn him into Darth Vader. So that is how we got Darth Vader here. This remained a secret even to most of the crew and actors. So I just discussed that. Throughout the most of the production of the film, the famous "I am your father" was not written in production scripts. Yep, it was left out. David Prowse filmed the scene by telling Luke that Obi-Wan killed his father. Director Irvin Kershner and Mark Hamill were the only people on set during shooting that knew the actual dialogue of the scene. James Earl Jones also let in on the secret as he had to record Vader's dialogue. So isn't that interesting? Like, knowing that George kept this a secret, and in the moment, those who needed to know got to know. And that was it. Keeping it a secret kept the suspense in Empire Strikes Back. Just imagine if it leaked out. It wouldn't have been as phenomenal as it was when we first watched it, because we weren't expecting that revelation, right? So that was amazing. So George Lucas quotes says, "The issue of Luke's father I kept pretty quiet for a long, long time. I didn't tell anyone, not even Kirsch. I just couldn't risk getting it out. It getting out, not getting out, it getting out." So that's George Lucas's quote. Here. I think I'm going to put it on the ticker. So if you guys are tuning in, please answer the question. Oh, it's not going to let me copy and paste. Down, screen. So that is amazing. How George kept it a secret. And in the moment of the time of the filming is when he let the cat out of the bag. And only a few people knew. Only a few people knew at the time. And they kept it a secret after the filming because they wanted fans to be impacted by the story. Something that you don't get too much today. So good for George. Good for George. Let's see here what you guys have to say. Soul Assassin says, "I remember Mark Hamill saying that the director told him that he, Lucas, and Mark only knew about 'I am your father' line, so they'll know who leaks it." Correct. And that, I think I seen that in the making of or in one of the making of Empire Strikes Back or something like that. I forget where I seen it, but I know I seen it in one of those productions. Or it could have been an interview. It's been a while. It's been a while. Batu says, "Empire Strikes Back was phenomenal when I first saw the movie. The reveal hit me hard too, but before that, I played the Battle of Hoth on Shadows of the Empire. Kind of downplayed the seriousness of it." Yeah. So basically, if we get into the EU, we would know that Rogue Squadron was formed during this time. And Rogue Squadron was created by Wedge and Luke together. And because Luke's path was different than Wedge, Luke then gave command of the squadron over to Wedge. But then anytime that Luke came in into the squadron to fly with him, he would have his honorary spot back. So I thought that was very interesting to learn and find out later as the EU started expanding more and more throughout the lore and expanding through the movies and stuff and giving more development for the characters and squadrons and basically the world building. And when the special edition started coming out, especially for Return of the Jedi, and I'll speak more of this next week. But when Return of the Jedi or the special editions came out, we started seeing a little bit of EU hints here and there. But that was particularly more Return of the Jedi than anything else. But I thought it was very interesting, and we'll get more into that later. So this will be a little anticipation talk, of next week. And I look forward to that because Return of the Jedi is my absolute favorite of the OT. I love A New Hope for bringing an opening Star Wars to me. You would think it'd be my favorite because it opened up the Star Wars universe to me and made me intrigued enough to want to see what happens in Empire Strikes Back. But once we got to Return of the Jedi, it's like the conclusion. We got to see a lot more development with the characters, especially the Han and Leia. So, but I'll get more into that later. Batu says, "Like the Rebels did more damage than the Empire did." Check out OG's community, and thank you so much. Yeah, so check out the community. Go if you're not a part of it. It's been a little bit quiet this last week. So if you're a part of the community, start talking about Empire Strikes Back. Don't let it just be me that starts the conversation. You guys start the conversation too. Like even in questions with the EU or sharing your favorite character or whatever, as long as it's George Lucas era content, I don't mind. Okay, so it's not there. We're not there to bash anything. Um, we can talk about contradictions in George Lucas era because there are some. It's not perfect, but it is beautiful how it was crafted and stuff. So as the history of Star Wars started growing, of course there has to be corrections because it got expanded so big, but it wasn't messy, unlike what people say. It wasn't messy. Let me see here. Special effects of the Empire laser disc feature. There we go. Yes, so there you go. So there's some more there. And then Empire 30 years later documentary. Yes. And so let me see here. What I want to share is a some tweets. So I asked a question about what your favorite line is in Empire Strikes Back. So this is what I wanted to get fans' opinions on their favorite line or what their favorite line is, their quotes or whatever in Empire Strikes Back. So I'm going to go ahead and segue into that. So let me see here. Let's see here. Let me pull that up here. And I'm going to leave this question up for another 5 minutes. So if you haven't had a chance to answer, please do so. Inquiring minds want to know. Let's see here. There we go. Let me just move this down here. There we go. So what is your favorite line in Empire Strikes Back? So if you are not on Twitter, you don't follow me on Twitter, or you didn't answer, you can answer in the chat in the chat there. So this right here. So I thought, okay, so Empire Strikes Back to me seems like a majority, or at least a lot of fans prefer this between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. So I figured, okay, so I want to know what your favorite line in Empire Strikes Back is. So we have Sparta Chris here, illuminous beams, and so this was funny. I'm not trying to make fun of him, but this is what happens. Like he was saying that he was doing voice text, but luminous beings we are, not this crude matter. So since we're on the topic of Yoda, in a sense, because this is Yoda's quote. Interesting fact. When you read the novel Empire Strikes Back, Yoda's a blue creature in there. But when you watch the movie, he's green. So there's that little bit of change and difference. And, you're going to notice that every single movie novel in the OT era has its contradictions and stuff because when the novels were written and by the time the movies came out, changes were made. And direction was changed a little bit. So you're going to see that. And that's interesting, So, and then we have C3PO or JD3PO. You must unlearn what you have learned. So another Yoda quote. And then wars not make one great. So Yoda's been winning on these quotes here. And let's see here. And then most of the stuff Han Solo said. Then I'll see you in hell is one of them that I think is a popular one as well. And then right here, join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Imagine that. Imagine finding out this guy is your father, and he's making a bid right here. He's making this bid, pulling on your heartstring because Luke. It loves the legend of his father as a Jedi, and then he finds out that his father is the one that really turned into Darth Vader, that pledged as a Sith and turned his back on the Jedi. And of course, we see the evolution of what Luke learns about his father in the EU. So imagine that. Imagine getting all this in, taking this all in. Your arms, your wrist is cut off, your hands cut off. And you have this guy who could take your life and he's pleading for you to join him, like gain more power by joining me and we can rule together. Imagine that. And he's like, and he stays with his morals. Luke stays with his morals. And he's like, I'd rather than die than join you. And basically he just tosses him, or he just falls off the beam that he's standing on, giving his life because he's like, I'd rather die than join you. Even though you confess that you're my father. Like, just imagine all the emotions and stuff like going through his head during that time. Sticking to his morals still and saying, nope, I'd rather die. You know, that is brave. That's courageous, I guess you could say. All right, so let's go on. And then another one, sir, the possibility of successful navigating the asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1. Sorry, I butchered that. And don't tell me the odds. That was a fun moment there. I mean, but I'm pretty sure Greg, my good friend, Tuscan Bob or Greg would not agree with this quote, you know, because if you know who he is or you know who he hates, he does not like he does not like C3PO. And let's see here. That got him. And then laugh it up, fuzzball. And it's not my fault. And that we hear that again in Return of the Jedi, but that next time it was with Lando, I believe. Or wait, was it Lando here too? But anyways, I have to. And then here's another one by Yoda. This one, a long time I have watched. All his life has he looked away to the future, to the horizon, never his mind on where he was. What he was doing. Adventure, excitement, A Jedi craves not these things. You are reckless. Yep, so he's like really preaching to Luke. Never tell me the odds. There we go. And I won't fail you. I'm not afraid. Good. You will be. You will be. And these are phenomenal lines here. And people say, oh, George didn't write the script. I just shared with you guys that George basically was writing the draft along with his, along with the other people who are writing the draft. Sorry, I'm like not coming up with the names right now. Yeah. So he did contribute to the script. He did contribute to the drafts. All of that. So when you hear people like bash him about the PT, like it was all him, he did everything. That's why it was so bad. And I've already been in this conversation yesterday. Well, he was highly involved with the Empire Strikes Back, the OT in itself. We wouldn't have the OT the way we see it if it wasn't for George, because he is basically a control freak, and he even admits it. Like he wants it his way. And that's why he stepped away from Hollywood. And people forget that. And I can't wait to talk about that on our last CAF chat. The last week of Star Wars Appreciation Month. So all these quotes, I just wanted to get the fans involved with what their favorite quotes or lines in Empire Strikes Back. So if you guys shared here in the chat, I'm going to go through it right now. Let's see here. And thank you again, Soul Assassin, for sending these links here. For me, it's quite simple. I know I am your father. That right there, because that was such a pivotal moment, it sticks in everybody's head. Never tell me the odds. Let's see here. Batu says, and Luke's outfit on Bespin is still my favorite. I pretend that it's a New Jedi Order Jedi robe, a simple jumpsuit, blaster, and lightsaber, and you're ready. I'm more, the more you tighten your grip, the more the star systems will slip through your fingers. So yeah, so that is in A New Hope. Thank you for sharing your thing in A New Hope. Share with me what your favorite line is in Empire Strikes Back. If only they had space Jerry Springer. My father is Dark Lord episode. Imagine that. Oh my, I hope my internet connection's okay. It's like it's showing a little warning on the top here. So hopefully I'm not sound robotic. Hopefully I'm not. I hate for that to happen. I hate for that to happen. We have lasted this long. Let's see here. And yeah, so I just appreciate everybody's response to me on this here. I'd rather kiss a Wookiee. There you go. There you go. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this clip here because it's one of my favorite clips that I hardly get to play. I forget that I have these clips. Actually, I have a couple. So here's one. Let me see here. Here it is.
You rebel scum.
And that's Return of the Jedi. I just realized. Okay.
I know.
So that right there, remember I was telling you guys about like when he's being frozen in carbonite, how it made me feel. Just imagine being a small girl or a child and watching that and feeling the heat of the moment of what was going on, the dire straits, like their friend, their companion being frozen in carbonite. Just imagine that, going through that and watching that and thinking, oh my God, what the hell? What was George thinking? But of course, it's just all about keeping, the audience in suspense and the drama. And I like what the back of the novel says here. When you have the description in the back of the Empire Strikes Back novel, and let me go ahead and turn on my screen. And I'm not going to share every single line here, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off here. Let's put me back on screen. So, we have the description in the novel. Yeah, this has wear and tear. I did share this on Twitter. So I like what it says here. So this exciting chapter in the Star Wars saga is bigger and better and bolder than anything that has come before. Breathtaking adventure, high romance, startling revelations, explosive confrontations, and daring escapes. It says it all. It says it all right there. Right there. And I got Toby for. I'm surprised hasn't been in here, Mr. Darth Toby. Let me see here. I liked how that rebel soldier saw Han and Leia was arguing and thought how toxic Solo was. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's hilarious. All right. So let me go ahead and share some more interesting fun facts here. My internet connection now is back to normal. I guess you could say it's not threatening me of disconnection. Let's see here. As 2 more drafts of The Empire Strikes Back. It was at this moment that the story took a darker tone and ended with Han Solo imprisoned in carbonite. By this time, episode 2 was changed to episode 5. And then Lawrence Kasdan, fresh from writing Raiders of the Lost Ark, is hired to write new drafts for The Empire Strikes Back with the help from director Irvin Kershner. So we had George writing and contributing, and then Lawrence Kasdan coming in with Kershner and taking George's ideas from his drafts and writing them, fine-tuning them and stuff. So, but that's basically when you look into even the prequel trilogy, George had his writers help him as well. So it wasn't like he was doing every single thing himself that people assume that he was doing. And then April 28th, 1978, Star Wars wins 6 of its 10 Academy Award nominations. Imagine that, Star Wars, A New Hope. 6 of 10 award nominations. Awards won by the picture including Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, Best Original Score, Best Costume Design, Best Art Direction, Set Direction, and Best Film Editing. Imagine that, winning 6 out of 10. And the best film editing is not that, Marsha saved Star Wars in the editing. She did contribute by smoothing out some of the scenes with her editing. I'll give her that. But in the end, George, and I believe it's Hirsch, are the ones that did the last editing before the movie was basically I'm ready for viewing, ready for the theaters, all of that. So people who think Marsha's the one that saved Star Wars, no. She wasn't there at the last of the editing of it. She did help out, yes, but she's not the one that basically supposedly saved Star Wars. If you look at any development of filming, usually the first edit cut is the worst because you got to start somewhere. You got to put the movie, edit it, put it together, and review it to know where you need to make improvements to make the movie better. And that's where you also will find out, okay, do we need to do reshoots of something, what have you. So every movie goes through that process of from worst cuts and the edits to the best to the final, where you feel, okay, this is it, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to reveal to the world. And I think people are over exaggerating all this because of the PT, to make it sound like George didn't know what he was doing. But obviously he does, or these movies wouldn't have been successful. Yeah, so that's that's what I've noticed and read in my research. Like the Star Wars Archives books that I have, the Cinema of George Lucas that I have, watching, excuse me, all the behind the scenes. Yeah, that says a lot. That says a lot. Let me see what you guys have to say. Okay, try not, do or do not. There is no try. And this quote right here is going to go into our cringe factor portion. And we're going to get more into that. So Soul Assassin knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you might know what I'm talking about. And then Channel Starface. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you. Good morning from me. Good afternoon to you. The Anonymous Gamer says, "Oh my god, it's just like this year is the year of friggin' allergies for me. I am like disgusted. I don't want to go get allergy shots or anything, but I might have to." The Anonymous Gamer says, "Only Star Wars film novels I read was Revenge of the Sith. I've read through a bit of A New Hope. I might read through the OT novels. They sound very interesting. They are very interesting. And like I said, don't be mad or upset with the how different some things may sound versus the movie, because they were written and some of them did come out before the movies, but they were written with the information that George gave them. And then as the movies were in production and these were in editing and stuff like that, and or in publishing, sorry, George decided to make some changes. So there's going to be some slight differences, like I said, like with Yoda's skin color and stuff like that, which is not bad. Jackson says Luke Sans is hands. What? I probably don't get what you're saying there. I'm sorry. Hello, what did I miss? Nothing. We're just talking about Empire Strikes Back. Well, you missed a lot. I wouldn't say nothing because this show's not about nothing. So we're just talking about Empire Strikes Back. Go ahead and answer the question below here. I haven't changed the question. Sorry, you guys. Besides Boba Fett, who was your favorite bounty hunter in Empire? There you go. There you go. So another question here. Another question. And what did you think about the bounty hunters that Lord Vader basically brought in to help him find Luke, find Han and Leia? So basically, what did you guys think about them? And who is your favorite bounty hunter out of those guys? Let us know. Inquiring minds want to know. It's a show about nothing. Yeah, Jerry Springer, not Jerry Springer. What is it called? I can't think of the sitcom's name. Damn it, Laura, you're not on your prime today, right? Yeah, I missed a lot of nothing. And then Bosk. Okay, there. So missed Red Hoodwinked is Bosk, says Bosk. Yeah. Seinfeld. There we go. Seinfeld. 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 Show about nothing. Yeah, just as you said it, I said it too. Or you posted it. Tales of the Bounty Hunters was the first I own and still my favorite. Cool. Awesome. All right, let's see here. Let's go back to March 5th, 1979, filming begins on The Empire Strikes Back in Norway. So I did share a clip of that, or a image of that in Norway. At the I'm not going to try to say the word glacier near the town of Finns. While filming in Norway, the crew faced the worst winter storm in 50 years. Carrie Fisher, despite having no exterior scene on the ice planet of Hoth, voluntarily went on location with the cast and crew. Harrison Ford was scheduled to arrive the following week. Due to multiple avalanches and heavy snowfall, the cast and crew often felt isolated from the outside world. Train tunnels were blocked, and trenches created for filming were once again full of snow. Irvin, determined to stay on schedule, decided to film some scenes out in the back of the hotel. Kirshner also called Ford and requested that he make the trip early so that they could go ahead and start filming some of his scenes. Ford films to Ford flies to Oslo on the afternoon flight, but was stranded due to more avalanches. Ford caught a train to Geilo, a ski resort 30 miles from Finns, and managed to find a couple of cabs that brought him a little closer to his destination. Finally um, arriving, production manager Bjorn Jacobson managed to pick Ford up in the snowplow, and the two arrived back in Finns by midnight. So imagine that. Imagine, you're like, okay, we're gonna film. We're gonna film it in on location where this is a snow planet. So so they chose Norway. They chose that location, and going through the worst storm ever in 50 years. And imagine having to transport Harrison Ford in a snowplow. Imagine that. Imagine having to go through that. And so those of you guys didn't know about that, just imagine all of that happened. Let's see. I remember back in the white deleted scenes from A New Hope. It probably a good idea that most of those were cut from the film, except the Deck Darklighter and Luke Skywalker arrival at Tashi Station. So you mean Biggs Darklighter? And let's see. First thing I remember from Empire Strikes Back was having crush on Luke and Han. Nice. Let's see here. And Diddy Squat says they went from sandstorms to snowstorms to sandstorms again. Yeah. The life of filming Star Wars, right? It's like the weather was like, okay, well, we'll just make this very interesting for you guys. We'll make this very, very interesting for you guys. So I thought that was interesting too. And imagine, carrying your star, one of your leads, who the snowplow, sorry, on the snowplow. Very interesting, Andy. There we go. So, yeah. And then we're coming up on the hour here. So, but I don't want to stop talking about, Empire Strikes Back. So, let's see here. What was your, like, how am I going to question this? What did you think of Luke's training scenes? And if you've seen the cut scenes from it, you can even use that to elaborate more. But what did you think about when you first seen Yoda and how he acted? And then eventually when Luke started training. We all knew it was an act. well, eventually we knew was an act. And eventually we got to know that he was going to train Luke no matter what, because that was basically their focus and their plan. That Luke had to go through these series, I guess you could say, of tests, I guess you can say. But what did you think of that scene, that whole scene with when we began Luke's training, meeting Yoda, and eventually his training before he runs off? Before he runs off. So let me know what you think about all of that. Yeah. So let me know. We will get into cringe factor here pretty soon, but I just wanted to touch bases on, the training thing with Luke and Yoda. And the reason why is because we always see, now that Disney Star Wars has its own lore of Star Wars, and there's so much that is now contradicting George's movies, and how, people are trained, or Jedi are trained, and even their own protagonists not needing training, and then people decide to counter in an argument that, oh, Luke didn't have that much training, da, 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 that, all that. So what did you think about the training, all of that? Let me know. Let me know. And we're going to segue here pretty soon into cringe factor, which will go more into Yoda and that scene of training with Luke. So this is a good segue. This is a good segue. And this is, like, again, CAF Chat is about conversation with you guys in the chat, talking about Star Wars, and we're doing Star Wars Appreciation Month. This week is Empire Strikes Back. We're actually closing in and now segueing into Return of the Jedi, which I'm so excited. I didn't post as much as I wanted to regarding these movies in this Appreciation Month as I have been planning, because, like I said, I've been so busy on with my personal life. So I apologize, but don't be afraid to share anything pertaining to these movies in the community or on Twitter and share with me. So don't be afraid to start the conversation. So what did you like? I like who Yoda pretended to be a random local to test Luke's personality and goals. Correct. And when you look into some source books, and I think the atlas that I have, the Star Wars atlas that I have, gives the amount of time that Luke stays with Yoda. And that also pertains to the amount of time that Han and Leia are fleeing from Vader. So, and now I don't have it in front of me. I just don't want to go grab it. It's like behind me in my bookshelf. But I think it's like 3 weeks or so. And so that's a lot. That's still a significant amount of time. I will confirm that on Twitter, though, but I'm guessing at the top of my head from when I remember what I read, it was like 3 weeks, maybe a little over 3 weeks. And that makes sense. So he didn't just go in one day and learn. It's 3 weeks or a little bit more than 3 weeks or so. And but then you also got to remember that we find out eventually that there will be a journal left for him, and I can't wait to get into this. Oh my God. So the segue novel, our multimedia project between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, is Shadows of the Empire. And boy, do we see how Luke has grown, what he finds in Yoda's home to help him further training and building his saber. We know that, he still has the guidance of his masters in a different form. And we know that he continues to train as best as he can with what he has. So I can't wait to talk a little bit about that as well, because that multimedia project, basically, that's what it is. It's the first multimedia project because you have the novel, you have the comics, you have the games, Shadows of the Empire, and then you also have the soundtrack. And George was considering on turning that into a movie. That would have been an interesting little, like, segue movie between, or maybe even an animation or something. I don't know, but I thought that that's such an interesting project and such an interesting story that links, that expands between the movies. And yes, George was involved with that as well. And it's a part of the saga because George has said the EU is a part of the saga. Let's see here. Imagine how differently things would have played out if Luke listened to Yoda and decided to continue his Jedi training rather than rush headfirst into Vader's trap on Bespin. That's an interesting like what if theory if you want to think about that. But the reason why he did that was that he had to learn a pivotal lesson that his father never learned from. That turned him dark. And that not to react on the visions of the future. Because we knew Anakin was reacting because the visions he's seen from his mom, and he responded to that. And what happened? That started tainting him in the dark side. And then the visions of Padme dying while giving birth. Little did he know that these visions that he was seeing are actually the visions that are things that happened from his responding to that vision of the future. So that was a foreshadowing, I guess you could say. But we know visions of the future are not always true, or they are not always correct. They're just one version of the future. And that was Luke's lesson. His father didn't learn, it led him to the dark side. That's one of the reasons that led him to the dark side. Luke learned. And boy, did he learn by losing his hands. But from that, he learned not to respond, not to act rationally to visions of the future. And that's what makes him more pivotal, more interesting of a character, and what his father was supposed to be, basically. And that basically is how Disney failed to recognize what they failed to recognize. Their creators that they brought in for the Disney trilogy failed to recognize that and made him just like Anakin in a way. No, Luke or Jake of the Disney lore did not fall to the dark side, but he went against his morals and his standards and gave up on every single thing. Every single thing, because he responded to a vision. He responded to a thought of what his nephew in the Disney trilogy had, like the vision that whatever that was. Yeah, but anyways, we're not here to discuss that in depth, but I just wanted to point that out too as well, since Anonymous Gamer shared that. 18 months sounds more reasonable to me. Yeah, I will post that. I'll pull that out later and post that. Let's see here. This was a fan film of Shadows being made, but I guess the plug was pulled on it. There was a fan film. Oh, maybe because Lucas was thinking of making it into a movie. He had a soundtrack. John Williams was the one that was contacted for the score, and I think he was busy at the time or what have you. And he couldn't do it. So, they brought in another person that they were confident, that John Williams was confident with. So there we go. Yeah, so all right, you guys. So we're going to segue into the cringe factor, which still is basically a part of the conversation with Empire Strikes Back, but more cringier, I guess you could say. So prepare yourself. So if you guys need to go grab a drink, please go do it. I'm going to go play a commercial while we make our way into that. And this commercial here is the one that is fitting because we are talking about this movie.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave One, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
And yeah, so there you go, the Star Wars collection there. So now let's go ahead and get into our cringe factor.
So uncivilized.
All right, everyone. So here we are with our cringe factor. So here we go. So if you follow me on Twitter, you would know that I already commented and said my piece about this, but we're going to discuss this a little bit more because I want to break this down with you guys and also hear what you guys have to say. Hear what you guys have to say. Please hit the like button and consider becoming a channel member. Yes. And then I'm going to go ahead and follow through on this. I've read a little bit of Shadows of the Empire. Pretty good book so far. The game on PC is incredible as well. It would have made an awesome film. If it actually got made, correct. So here we go. So as always, basically, we have these cringe sources like Screen Rant and CBR making these crazy assumptions, or even in tandem with how they want you to start thinking about Star Wars films and lore made by George Lucas. So this is exactly it. So yes, it could become, you can consider it clickbait. It definitely is. But if you have noticed and picked up what I have picked up, that these pop culture sites that write about all these franchises, especially Star Wars, is basically changing the way you look and perceive, the way you view and perceive basically Star Wars, George Lucas era. And it goes in tandem with what Disney's doing. So I find it interesting and I want to call it out because there is truth in some of this. There is truth in some of this. And to follow this little trail here and seeing what Disney's doing and what these sites are doing in tandem with them, they are wanting to change how you view, how you perceive the lore. So Yoda was falling to the dark side in Empire Strikes Back, not Luke. So imagine that. Watching, okay, fans, hey, my subscribers, people in the chat, did you even think in one instant you went to the dark side? Did you even think that Luke was falling to the dark side? Before I start reading, and this is by Nathaniel Rourke, what did you think? What were you thinking? What's your thoughts on this? Wait, what? Exactly. Wait, what? What the hell's going on here? So when you watched Empire Strikes Back, did you think that Luke was falling to the dark side? And did you think, or did you think Yoda? Where did you see this happening? Where did you see this happening? So before I read into this, I'm going to go ahead and check this comment here. Didi Squat says, a bit of off topic, but for anyone that wants to understand Star Wars philosophy and what truly happened, inspired Anakin and Luke's journey, read Tao Te Ching and Journey to the West. All right. So there you go. So a little bit of that. So going back to this, despite Yoda's warning about the dangers of the dark side, it was the Jedi Master himself who was falling in Empire Strikes Back, not Luke. Where did we see Luke falling? Where did we see Luke falling? You know, so I just find it interesting. I'm just like baffled by this, just by this simple, just this topic and subheader here. Yeah, so feel free, so let me know in the comments, and I'm going to, before I read on. All right. So maybe Luke a little because of his impatience, but no, impatient doesn't mean that you're falling to the dark side. Because we see Yoda, there's times that we see Yoda, like everybody has impatience, but you're not falling to the dark side. That's not one of the tandem, like one of the warnings that makes you fall to the dark side. Okay, so let me go ahead and read through this article. So, all right. Luke Skywalker may have struggled with the dark side in Empire Strikes Back, but it was actually Yoda who was in danger of falling. Where did he struggle with the dark side? He struggled with the information that was given to him, but that's not a struggle with the dark side. He ran off to respond to a vision of the future, which he was given warning not to do, but that's not struggling with the dark side. Now, struggling with the dark side, meaning that you go and battle an opponent that's way stronger than you, and that's on the dark side, then maybe we can say, oh, maybe it's that. But no, he's not struggling like mentally with the dark side, because in fact, he gives his life because he's sticking to his morals on not wanting to join the dark side. As unbelievable as that may sound, there is quite a bit of evidence that suggests that Yoda was indeed falling into the dark side, fulfilling the very warning he gave Luke. Viewing Yoda's character through this lens recontextualizes all of his scenes with Luke and adds more depth to the overarching story of the original Star Wars trilogy. So, where was he falling to the dark side, may you ask? So let's read on. Yoda falling to the dark side would also be tied back to the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Okay. And the failures of the Jedi Order. Okay, so where was Yoda falling to the dark side then? He knew that they were being clouded by the dark side, but that's not an indication that he's falling to the dark side. The Jedi's vision was clouded by the dark side of the Force, allowing them to become embroiled in the war that blinded them until the Republic was gone and the Order decimated. That doesn't mean that they fell to the dark side. That means that they were victims of the Sith. They took the weaknesses. They knew that the Jedi would respond to protect the or the old Republic, and they would take their lead in war to help establish peace. But that doesn't mean that he fell to the dark side. This adds credibility to Yoda being the one who was falling to the dark side and would make George Lucas' saga about the Jedi's Order's redemption, not just Anakin Skywalker's. The redemption, there was like no redemption from the dark side of the Order. There was a rebirth. There's a difference. A rebirth. The Jedi Order was reborn through Luke Skywalker. It wasn't redeemed, it was reborn. However, The Empire Strikes Back contained plenty of evidence on its own, hinting that Yoda, not Luke, was falling to the dark side on Dagobah. Let me see what you guys have to say, because I am intrigued. Okay. We have a laugh. All right. With Luke's attitude, no wonder Yoda was about to go full Sith on him. Of your crap, tired I am, young Skywalker. Your butt I'm about to kick. Let's see here. It says, let's see here. I know Dagobah was strong with the dark side, but no, not once thought Yoda was slipping. I think that's an allusion to the state of Luke needed to learn to be light in the darkness. So, Dagobah was selected by Yoda because of how much the Force was, like the essence of the Force was there. And we know why how it became strong in the dark side, like the essence. When you learn about George Cardass and the Dark Jedi and Yoda fighting, if you know the lore on that, then you'll understand why. With Luke's attitude, no wonder. Okay, I read that one. Let's see here. And let's go back to the article now. Probably you guys are like, what the hell? All right. Only a Sith deals in absolute. These words, these were Obi-Wan's words to Anakin on Mustafar. So basically Darth Vader. But Yoda showed that even a Jedi Master could fall into this trap. Yoda's dark side warning to Luke was right, explaining how negative emotions could easily lead a Jedi down the wrong path. Even so, his words to Luke sounded awfully like an absolute. So they're saying because they think he's speaking absolute, he was going to the dark side. No, he was giving him a warning. It's all about the context and the lesson. If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice. That is not absolute, that is a warning. Not only was this the beginning of the impact between Luke and his masters over Darth Vader's redemption, but it also exposed Yoda's own faults. How does this expose his fault? There is truth to this, and Luke even says this when he creates the new Jedi Order, when he is training, and he's experienced it. When he decides to go in and infiltrate the dark side in Dark Empire and try to defeat the Emperor from the inside. He understands this even more in Legacy of the Force when he gets tainted with killing Lumaya, knowing that, he's tainted by the dark side and that he can't act and go after his nephew, because if he did, no matter the outcome, the galaxy would be set forever, be set in the dark. He would go dark. So he knew, because of his first intentions in Dark Empire, that he's always going to be tainted and that he has to be mindful and he has to be cautious. So this is not an absolute. This is basically context. The context of this is basically the lesson to him about. It's like a warning to him. It's a warning to him. Whereas when Obi-Wan says to Anakin, when Anakin says, if you're not with me, then you're against me. Now that's an absolute right there. And it's very one-sided. It's not a warning. It's like, okay, so it's all about just him and only him. So we'll just go with that. And it's not even comparable to this warning that Yoda gives. If once you start down the dark path, forever it will dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice. This is not even an indication of Yoda going down the dark path. This person is just really going through some mental gymnastic hellery here. Yoda dealing in absolute is very similar to what the Jedi claim is a Sith way of thinking. And this is where you get, okay, so this is where he's going dark. Which suggests that Yoda himself was struggling with the dark side. Not really. So, okay, so if this is the truth, then can't you say that Luke was getting training? Dark side training? So Yoda's way of thinking is suggesting that he was struggling down the dark side, that he was being tainted, or he's tainted by the dark side, or he's going dark. Then wouldn't you say that Luke's training then is tainted? Hey, Melissa Lord, how are you doing, sweetheart? I'm so glad you're here with us. And we are on Cringe Factor, so grab a strong one if you can. If you're at work, then I understand if you can, and be prepared for this fuckery. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I hate that absolute thing. Yoda wasn't talking absolute. He was saying Luke to free his mind from doubt and fear, which can slowly lead to paranoia and anger. Yeah. So he's given him some words of wisdoms, telling him like with emotion wise and all of that, you know, that it can taint him. Like he can, with emotion wise and how he responds and stuff, he can go to the dark side. And I was talking on Facebook about that forever dominating your thing yesterday. While most times, yes, that's true, but I don't think it's always. Annie, Revan, Jason. Jason was tainted by the dark side. Kip too. Zek and Jaina. Yeah, Jaina, we see that she overcame it, but I get what you're saying. But even I think Jason was always tainted by the dark side after. So he was dark side. Okay, let's see here. All right, so let's go back to this article here. The further I stall this, the more we got to stay on this, right? So, all right. So it suggests that he's struggling with the dark side. Obi-Wan line also demonstrated that Yoda and the Jedi struggled with the during the prequel trilogy. No, that does not mean they struggled. The thing that they struggled with was knowing that they were being tainted or clouded, not tainted. I'll take that back. They're being clouded by the dark side. That there's something bigger and stronger. They knew the Sith were coming back, and all of that. So basically, you could say they were victims of Palpatine, just like the Old Republic and everyone else. As his line to Anakin was itself absolute. Even Yoda's most famous line, "Do or do not, there is no try," is an absolute. There you go. So now, and this is when people are sharing their favorite quotes from Empire Strikes Back. This right here, I was like, wait till you hear cringe factor. So now they're saying that this is an absolute. No, this is giving you an option, go full force, do it. Either you do it or you don't. So it's about action. Even if you're not successful, you still did it. Well, it was meant to encourage commitment. It could have led Luke down the wrong path later in his journey. How would it have led him down the wrong path in his journey? How would it have? Luke was constantly given two choices but found a better way, demonstrating the danger of taking Yoda's advice too literally. What? Luke was constantly given two choices. Yeah, he was like, his choices was either stay light or dark, train or not, try or not. That is not it would not, it's not a danger of taking Yoda's advice literally, too literally. It's given him choices on what he needs to do, his decision, where he needs to be. Yoda was consumed by fear of the dark side. No, he was not. He was given wisdom. Now, we know that in a conversation between Yoda and Dooku, Yoda demonstrated how he could be, how strong he can be if he turned dark. If you know the EU, you would know that. He did not fear it. He gave wisdom about it from experience. Giving wisdom, sharing how you could fall to the dark side and how it can taint you is not fear of the dark side. It's respect of it, yes, but it's not fear. Yoda also warned Anakin that fear is the path to the dark side. Yet Yoda himself was clearly afraid. Actually, he was not. Where did any way in the PT or the OT did Yoda share that he feared the dark side? Yoda refused to train Luke because he was afraid that he could turn out like his father. There is some truth to that, yes. But he was not in fear. He was afraid that the dark side, afraid of the dark side when he quickly dismissed Luke's question about whether it was stronger, almost as if trying to convince himself. No, no. Yoda was very concise when telling Luke that yes, it's stronger. That it's stronger, that it's more dominating. Him telling Luke that was not him being in fear of the dark side. It was not about him being in fear of the dark side. Finally, he was afraid of what would happen if Luke, to Luke, if he left to save his friends and Vader and the Empire not being stopped. Yoda's fear. So yes, he was in concern of Luke. He didn't want him to finish or to. He didn't want him to not finish his training. So, and he was, but it wasn't that. It was about a fear of the dark side. I'm gonna see what you guys have to say here. I am very curious. Grogu is just tainted. Let's see here. Baby Yoda was tainted by the dark side too. There we go. Kip was redeemed, but he was being redeemed doesn't mean that you're not tainted. But his dark past still influenced his life for decades after. Correct. Doku said Yoda falling to the dark side would be the end for all. Correct. Yoda was living on Dagobah because of it had dark side there. Yeah, it hid him. It kept him secret. It kept him, from being detected. More assertive, not stronger. Let me see here. I'm just saying some of the greatest Jedi ever are the ones who faced darkness, even went in it and still came back. Best of both worlds. Yeah, but doesn't mean that you're gray and doesn't mean that you're not tainted. Incomplete was your training, not ready for the burden you were you, Yoda said about Luke. Correct. So this is the point here that I was trying to get to. Let me say I can't call you right now. He wasn't ready to meet and for battle. So he wasn't ready to meet his enemy in battle. His training wasn't complete. So basically he wasn't ready for the burden of it, wasn't ready for the burden of the truth. Doesn't mean that Yoda was in fear of the dark side. He was basically mentoring his pupil. There's a huge difference in that. I'm just joining in and loving the passion of the chat. Smash that like button. Thank you so much, Abu Nas, for coming in. Yoda turning to the dark side would be pretty terrifying given how strong in the Force he was. Correct. And I think we're just going to do one. No, we'll do the other cringe factor. Jackson. Oh, you guys are talking here. And follow OG on Twitter. Yes. So let's go and continue on this. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, so now let's see where I left off at here. All right, so finally, he was afraid of what would happen to Luke if he left to save his friends and Vader and the Empire not being stopped. Him leaving doesn't mean that he was going to go stop the Empire and stuff. They knew eventually that the Empire was going to be stopped. That wasn't the time. He wasn't ready, and he is being the master to the pupil, saying you're not ready for this right now. You're not fully trained. It wasn't in fear of the dark side, and it was concern of the pupil. That's all. Yoda's fear was completely understandable, but as a Jedi Master himself said, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And no, Yoda being in concern for his people doesn't mean that he was going to fall to the dark side. I don't think this person knows how to distinguish between a concern versus fear when it comes to the Star Wars lore. This doesn't mean that Yoda was going to the dark side. Because as we've seen in the movies, Yoda stayed committed to where he was at. He did not act out. He did not foolishly do something like how Anakin seen his mother in a vision of the future being tortured and stuff, or in what have you. And then he acted upon it. Yoda did not act upon it. He's like, okay, well, this is out of my control now. He's going. We'll see what happens. So he didn't act out of fear, which would lead him to the dark side. He was concerned, yes. What truly suggests that Yoda was falling to the dark side is that Star Wars proved that he was wrong about Anakin. That is not proof that he was falling to the dark side. Being wrong about Anakin being redeemed is not proof, because if that's the case, every single Jedi before Luke who did not believe in redemption are friggin' Darksiders. You got to be kidding me here. Yoda believed that it was impossible for someone to return to the back from the dark side, once they started down the path, and both he and Obi-Wan believed that Luke needed to kill Vader. Yes, but that doesn't mean that he was being dark, that he was being tainted by the dark side. No. Having a belief in something doesn't mean that you're dark side. And Luke proved them wrong, right? But that doesn't mean that they were dark side. However, Luke listening to his teachers would have been the very thing that sealed his own dark fate, as killing Vader out of anger was exactly what the Emperor wanted. Luke went in there with his morals. Once he wanted to kill Vader in the beginning. Once he found out his father, his morality stayed true and strong, and he wanted to save his father. He had compassion. That's another way of defeat. Yes, Yoda and Obi-Wan didn't believe in redemption, and that's fine. That doesn't mean that they're dark side, or they're tainted by the dark side, or they're going dark. And because Luke proved them wrong on that, it helped clear some of the dogmatic ways of the old order. Luke basically was the person to bring about a new Jedi Order. So the new Jedi, or the Jedi Order, be reborn through Luke. And that's what Yoda foreseen. If you've read the Revenge of the Sith novelization, that's what Yoda foreseen with Luke. Even though he put him through these little trials in Empire Strikes Back on his training, before he started training him, and how he treated them, how he talked to him, how he questioned him, all of that. That was all about Luke's commitment. Because yes, he wanted to make sure that he was ready. And then by rejecting what everyone else thought was best, Luke chose love and not violence. He actually still engaged in violence. They still did the duel. He did, he used, some mental philosophy type, structure. And I can't think of the correct term, damn it, Alora. But anyways, so basically how he spoke to his father, and how he got into his father's head about who he was and what he is, and their relationship, the love, because love is the one thing that love, the greed of love, or love in a greedy way, is what made Anakin fall, right? Because he went about it in a greedy way, in a sense. It was all about him. Now switching perspectives of love being in a compassionate way. And that's what redeemed him. And that's the lesson that the Jedi Order needed to learn, like the masters of the old order needed to learn. But it doesn't mean that they were dark, that they didn't believe that, their redemption could happen or not, right? And this also shared that there could be attachment, as long as it's not in a greedy way, as long as you're able to let go, in a sense. You could still have relationships, you can still be married, you could still have families. And Luke shared that. Okay, so let's go on. For all of Yoda's warnings about the dark side, it's clear that he was succumbing to its influence. Where is it clear that he was succumbing to its influence in Empire Strikes Back? It was, and look at this headline right here. Related, Empire Strikes Back, Yoda and Obi-Wan's advice to Luke was terrible. Anyways, it was Luke who took his teacher's word and truly put them into practice. Conquering the dark side within himself and inspiring. Okay, so what dark side was in him, like at the time? Inspiring others to do the same. So, okay, so where in Empire Strikes Back was the dark side, and where did he inspire everybody to do the same? Thankfully, Yoda overcame the dark side, and in the end, becoming one with the Force. Oh, all of a sudden, the person, the being that doesn't believe in redemption, overcomes dark side in the end, and then so he can become a part of the Force, even though he didn't believe in it, and even though he wasn't a part of this redemption and died before Anakin was redeemed. All of a sudden, he overcame, and then so could become a Force ghost. And looking at Luke with pride, it gives greater meaning to Yoda's telling Luke that we are what we grow beyond. Yoda may very well have been falling to the dark side in The Empire Strikes Back, making it for the best that Luke and Anakin proved him wrong. Okay, so this is revealing right here. Yoda doesn't have to be, and Obi-Wan too didn't believe in redemption. Not just Obi-Wan, or not just Yoda. But doesn't mean that they're going dark. We're falling to the dark side because they didn't believe in redemption. But this person did this mental gymnastics right here. Yoda may very well been falling to the dark side in Empire Strikes Back, making it for the best that Luke and Anakin proved him wrong. You don't have to be falling to the dark side to be proven wrong on a certain view or philosophy. It's just that you were wrong. That's it. That's all. But have you guys noticed, and this goes still into what I've been talking about for the last month and a half, 2 months, that Disney, Star Wars, and these related sites are making Yoda such a failure. Like failure to where everything is his fault. Yes, he does blame himself for some things because, of course, he's the Grandmaster. But in reality, Yoda was a foundation. He was not perfect. He held everything together. Yes, he realized that they were holding on to some dogmatic views that they should have evolved. But that doesn't mean that he's just utterly failure where everything he did made the Jedi fail. The reason why the Jedi failed, and it was not just because they still stayed in their dogmatic ways and practicing in the ways of the Jedi and not evolving, but they failed because they were tainted by, or they were clouded by the dark side. They were victims, and because the Sith remained hidden and studied the Jedi, they knew exactly how to defeat them. There's a difference in failing and not evolving the Jedi versus being an uttermost character of doing everything wrong and not finding any resolutions. I don't know. It's just hard to wrap my mind around this person's thinking to come to a proper conclusion other than Yoda isn't this failure that Disney's perceiving him to be. He's not this uttermost failure kind of person. Let me see what you guys have to say. Let's see here. Okay, you guys have a good conversation going on in here. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see where I got to start. Okay, here we go. Holocron, Library Fox, I'd say when the light side loses its assertive quality, that the dark side can come out on top by seeing or seeping in and through. The dark agents can overpower the prideful and the arrogant. And just there we go. Just as the Western world gets overrun by collectivists, because the traditionalists stopped calling them out or grow too weak to stem the tide.
Bye-bye, cough.
Later, chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing?
Okay, I close that. We don't need to see that article, and it's going to remain in the dark right there for now, but that's okay. Let's see here. 100 of years of being a Jedi Master, teaching and training Jedis, and then all of a sudden he fears of falling to the dark side. Yep, that's the mental gymnastics that's going on here. That is what's going on here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up so you guys can see. So another legacy character being bashed by another pop culture, quote unquote, journalist site. You know, so I'm saying that like sarcastically. Let's see here. If someone stands in the true light and steps forward like Luke in Return, the dark side shrinks, backs, and yields. Yep. Smash that like button. When Luke cut off Vader's sword hand, Sidious says, "Your hate made you powerful," told him to kill his father. He looked at Vader's mechanical hand and looked at his own mechanical hand. And that's what brought it back, and how Luke knew that if he killed him, he would go the same way as his father did. Correct. Who writes this BS? AI could do it better. And if Yoda was falling to the dark side, he would push Luke towards it, not to warn him off. Correct. That's one thing that the EU did that made the Jedi better. Love isn't a path to the dark side. It is an anchor that tethers you to the light. Jason and Anakin are proof of this. Let's see here. The entire article makes no sense, and the author is really grasping at straws to somehow make this argument sound logical. Yoda is the furthest from the dark side that you could possibly get. Correct. You know, and the thing is, and I'm going to state this here, if Yoda felt any way that he was being compromised, he wouldn't have trained Luke. So think of that. If he thought that he was compromised by and tainted by any way by the dark side, he would not train, because he would be training someone just as powerful, if not more powerful than he is. And so if he's tainted by the dark side, then he's setting up Luke, one of the most powerful Jedi to ever exist, in the ways of the dark, in compromising his training. So think about that. That person didn't even think about that. Holocron, Library Fox. Okay, so let me see here. Diddly Squat says, if it's not that just they believe that love can lead the dark side, it's possessiveness, right? That's what I'm saying. Jealousy, greed, that's all. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we see. So we see in the prequel trilogy, love being seen through jealousness, possessiveness, greed, and stuff can taint you to the dark side. We see that with Anakin, whereas Luke, it's different. It's about compassion, letting go, and all that. So we see the two different aspects of which the dark side, the shadow side of love, and the light side of love, or the dark side of love, the light side of love, which way you want to call that. Let's see here. And I wish Disney would stop picking on the little guys and pick on someone their own size. OG, toss that article in the trash. Ain't nothing there that makes any sense. No, it doesn't. But like I said, these are revealing. So just like Disney's changing how people perceive George Lucas's Star Wars, these guys are down the same path. They're in tandem with Disney so that you can see exactly the way Disney wants you to see these characters, right? So it's revealing. I'm calling this shit out. Even though they're clickbait articles, I'm calling this shit out. Stop. These people, these so-called fans need to not be fooled and tricked into these articles and these perceptions that these articles and Disney's making you see and think about George Lucas' era. So they don't have to retcon or change the movies or remake the movies. All they have to do is just change perceptions through these articles and also through the material that they're bringing in the Star Wars lore. That's the beginning of it. That's the beginning. No, not Qui-Gon. Correct. Okay, so we're going to kind of get this through this a little faster. I don't want to be here too long. I like to keep it under 2 hours. We're going to go a little over 2 hours. So I apologize if you guys are not expecting that from me, but that's okay. So much hate for the legacy characters, yet every article shows how much the fans love them by defending them. Correct. Qui-Gon was the perfect Jedi. He only followed the will of the Force. I wouldn't say he was perfect. No Jedi's perfect. He wasn't perfect. He did make a lot of mistakes, even if that meant going against the council. Now, going against the council doesn't mean you're perfect either. It just means you disagree. Everybody's going to disagree about something, right? They're going to disagree about something. Doesn't mean you're perfect. Calling him an agent of the dark means that they understand nothing about him in Star Wars. Passion leads to the dark side, not love. And yep, exactly. So let's quickly go through this article and we'll discuss this. So here's another legacy character, someone that seen the value of bringing the chosen one in to knowing that they are starting to be clouded by the dark side, even though the Sith hasn't revealed themselves yet. If you read the EU, they're already sensing things already by time they find Anakin. That's why, Qui-Gon is more on alert and then is compassionate about bringing Anakin in. So there we go. And let's see here. Qui-Gon was just like Annie, Padme, Luke, and Leia. They do what is right and not what is convenient and act with their hearts. And the council didn't exactly do what was convenient either. Like I said, they were all tainted. I keep on saying the word tainted. They were all clouded by the dark side. Even Qui-Gon was. So he wasn't perfect at all. So let's see here. So this is by Ben Aldis. So this guy has no relation to the other article. However, it sounds exactly the same in a sense. So Star Wars hints that Qui-Gon Jinn was an agent of the dark side. Oh my God, here we go. Through his discovery of young Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn brought on the Jedi Order's downfall, but did he do this on purpose in Star Wars? So let me read this again. Through his discovery of the young Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn brought on the Jedi Order's downfall. So because he discovered the chosen one, he brought on the Jedi Order's downfall. I think already they were going to fall because the Sith are already plotting. But did he do this on his own purpose in Star Wars? So did he do this on purpose? So was he an agent of the dark side? Qui-Gon is widely considered one of the greatest Jedi masters of his generation. Wise, just and powerful. He was arguably true devotee of the Force, and actually the light side, not the Force, the light side, and its potential for goodness. And he played a significant role in the Jedi Order during the final decades of the Galactic Republic, as well as being a mentor to the distinguished Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi. Jinn was instrumental and dynamic in rescuing Queen Padme Amidala. He also saved young Anakin Skywalker from the life of servitude. No, he wasn't in servitude. Basically, there's a difference between servitude and slavery. So I wonder if this person said servitude because of the connotation of slavery and how people are talking about it today. Because you can't have slave one. Can't have slave one, right? Because of that word slave. So you can't have, let's see here, this.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
And so there you go. So it was Jinn that recognized the chosen one to be Skywalker. He brought him to the Jedi Order's attention, which ultimately led the Galactic Empire's undoing many decades later. So he was manipulated and stuff, yes, but was it Qui-Gon Jinn's fault? No. But was Jin really a virtue? So this is like saying because you had association to a certain character or a certain person, now you're guilty by association. This is the new perspective, and I've seen this in people I've talked to, even on Twitter, people that I considered maybe close friends at one time, or friends or acquaintances at one time. If you're associated to something, then you're guilty by association, even if you don't believe in that. And that yeah, so this is guilty by association. But was Jin really as virtuous as his impressive reputation suggests? Numerous Star Wars fans have suggested that he had an evil streak and wasn't so much a righteous Jedi as scheming manipulator, whose methods aligned with the ways of the dark side. So this person is saying numerous Star Wars fans have suggested that he is a scheming manipulator whose methods align with the ways of the dark side. So so this is where this person's getting their resources by these so-called numerous Star Wars fans. So knowing Qui-Gon, you guys as Star Wars fans, do you think he's a scheming manipulator whose methods align with the ways of the dark side? Let me know. Some believe Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and how it contradicts the traditional noble ways of the Jedi. So I don't do anything or make rash decisions. That monk and yeah, I just want to throw up on that. They're human, they're beings, they're gonna have faults. That's just the way it is. They're not this like omnipresence kind of being, okay? In order to achieve his desired outcome, Jin is somewhat careless and even immoral. His flippant use of mind tricks. Every Jedi uses a mind trick. Every single Jedi has used mind tricks before. Okay, so gambling. So Watto's dice were rigged already. And yes, he uses the Force to get his way in a sense, but that doesn't mean dark side. And so it says that he was not afraid to bend the Jedi's preference for truth and selflessness. Sorry. Some fans have argued that his questionable actions were more suit of that of a gray Jedi or worse, between the light and the dark in Star Wars lore, especially the original so at one point or another. So with that being said, any Jedi can be considered this gray Jedi when they don't agree, but it doesn't mean that he's in between the light and the dark or whatever. It just means that they just fucking disagree. That's all. And that's it. All right. In Star Wars, gray Jedi still conformed to the order. He still lived at the order. He still view of it. All Jedi followed the Force in a way. Even sort of life. But they also had the present moment, and they also looked to the future. And so there wasn't a narrow view of the Force by the Jedi. They were just stuck in some narrow dogmatic ways, I guess you could say. But, we can debate this. That'd be fun to do later. His refusal of a seat on the council, as well as his many disagreements with them, including on the training of Anakin, suggests that he was definitely out degrees, and he will find the means to train his own path. Because if he did, then he wouldn't be a Jedi, right? He wouldn't be a part of the Order. He wouldn't have stayed with them and still took orders. Refusing to let the Jedi decide his tactics or beliefs. So that was what the Jedi believe, his own path. This indeed made him a maverick in the Jedi's eyes. But it's also possible that his rebelliousness had deeper and darker streak. So because of his not conforming some things, I guess you can say, he has a darker streak, that he was going dark side, that he was a Qui-Gon Jinn's ties to the dark side might tell a different story. Okay, boy, train. Generally accepted the explanation is, or the accepted explanation is that even if Anakin's future was clouded, Jin was unwilling to let go of the long prophesied chosen one out of this desperation to finally bring balance back to the Force. In other words, Jin was willing to take the risk while the Jedi Council was not. But this is only one point of view. Jin's strange lack of caution surrounding the dangers of our dangerous Anakin. Look at surrounding the danger. Little Annie was so dangerous. Could indicate that he harbored a hidden allegiance to the dark side, and that he purposely brought the young boy into the Jedi fold, knowing full well that they would one day be destroyed by him. So here it is. So because he wasn't, going with caution, because Anakin is so dangerous, little Annie's so dangerous, that he was harboring a hidden allegiance to the dark side, so that the Jedi can be destroyed. While Jen's hatred of the Jedi may sound like a far-fetched idea to many, it can't be ignored that his entire history is somewhat tainted with the dark side and the Sith. How is that? How is he tainted? For example, by Count Dooku doesn't mean that he was tainted by the dark side. Dooku was still a noble man. He tired of the hypocrisy in the Jedi Order, believing them to become too steeped in corruption. In Karen Travis's novelization in 2008, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Dooku explains that the Jedi have lived with corruption for so long that they now never notice the stench of it. It's entirely possible that Dooku's past apprentice Jin. So just because Qui-Gon believes that doesn't mean that at the time he was tainted by the dark side either. And doesn't mean that he's training Jin to be dark. When Doku left, he left on his own volition. He was one of the lost 20. And then later was then manipulated by Sidious and became a Sith apprentice. It's entirely possible that Dooku passed. Okay, I read that. Additionally, according to the Legends canon, so according to the original canon, the Dark Jin's apprentice, young Xanatos, he too succumbed to the dark side. So just because you end up training or have an apprentice that goes dark, going dark is a choice. And we know that. So this doesn't mean that he was tainted. So does this now mean that Yoda is tainted by the dark side? We just got done reading about Yoda, right? So does this mean that now he is tainted? Does this mean that Luke Skywalker now is forever tainted, now should be completely dark because coming out of it, but then he also trained some Jedi that went dark and his nephew went dark? Does this mean that Leia is dark? You see how this is such a slippery slope of thought process here when it comes to that. Given that he is clearly drawn to such negative characters like Dooku, Xanatos, and Anakin, it makes Jin and Anakin wasn't negative. Xanatos in the beginning wasn't negative. It's just the manipulation that they went through turned that association, right? It makes Jin out to be incredibly suspect. Through his findings of Anakin, Jin is either a heroic Jedi who helped bring the Force into balance or a main architect of the Empire. Which path he truly followed is, as always, up to the fans to debate. So there you go. Learning all you have learned about Qui-Gon in the lore. What do you guys think? So let's see here. Also, numerous Star Wars fans have suggested that Jar Jar Binks is the ultimate evil power in the universe. There you go. These people need to stay off of Wikipedia. I agree. And Matt G is here. Hello. And he's laughing at this here. And let's see here. That could also be a used car salesman. Maybe Rick and Morty writer. Let's see here. It's the Disney commie perspective. Let's see here. Sounds like this article was written by an adolescent. The downfall of the order was part of the full prophecy. Let's see here. And let me scroll down. Qui-Gon. Oh, I thought I read. Qui-Gon never Come on, stay up there. Qui-Gon never acted on egotism and never did anything evil. So I don't know what they are talking about. Him using the mind trick for evil. His goals were to save Naboo and to free the chosen one. Correct. And Disney is trying to rewrite canon and lore to fit their commie agenda. And I read that already. Let's see here. Jackson says Qui-Gon was just more forbearant than the austere Mace and other Jedi. For the time, he only applied as much force as impressions made him necessary. Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, let me see. Laura's Wi-Fi had an ad. Motivated folks. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, did it? I didn't even know. I'm sorry. Star Wars, check your connection. You keep cutting out. Yes, it's... Sai, unfortunately, I got to go. Time to get back to courtroom and get to work. Much love. Thank you so much. Well, according to Disney Think, there is no difference between light or dark. Just watch some of the woke lights interviews. I know, I've seen that too. All right, you guys. So we're going to conclude from here. My internet is flaking out a little bit here, but thank you guys for tuning in to another CAF chat. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you so much. And again, this week now, we're beginning the Return of the Jedi week. So here we go. So from the 19th to the 25th, Return of the Jedi. So stay tuned for that. And it's all things Return of the Jedi. So please, even if I don't bring up a topic with it, you guys feel free to do and tag me in it. I will be happy to respond and share my thoughts or what have you, or be in the discussion as well. So May 19th to the 25th, Return of the Jedi. So I am so excited. This is my favorite movie out of all of Star Wars. So I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned for CAF Chat next week. Hopefully I will be able to cosplay something as well. So there we go. And let's see here. And as always, you guys have a great day, and see you on Twitter and see you on social media as well. And may the Force be with you, and chat with you guys later.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.